Missouri lost a few players to move back and play center back, but she gets to move back to her favorite number 6 role, where she was a terror in the fall of 2020. She also scored a couple of absolute smashing goals on the season as well, in addition to her defensive prowess. Meanwhile, as mentioned, the first game in the Missouri tenure of Stephanie Golan, a St. Charles, Missouri native who comes over after 92 wins in 9 years at the University of Minnesota. This is season 26 for Missouri soccer, and head coach number 2, Brian Blitz, founded the program and stewarded Missouri through 25 seasons, but he makes way for Stephanie Golan now in 2021. Probably going to be some early season nerves, I would think, Matt, especially it's been a while since these two teams have been able to play in front of a maximum capacity crowd.
Really has, and they're looking to embrace the grind, have that mentality, and this will be a real true test for them and a rivalry game to boot.
Missouri hoping to fill things up at Walton Stadium this year. Free admission this season for all fans, not just the students at Mizzou. Here is Pasquale right away, charging in that Missouri back line, and her shot is blocked by Mo Adesanmi, one of the experienced fifth-year seniors for Mizzou, part of a group that Stephanie Golan praised for their dedication, their open-mindedness as much as anything, a group that chose to come back and use that extra year given to them because of COVID, and that they were accepting right away of the new coach coming in. By the way, Illinois, not even a minute into the match, has made a substitution in goal. The starter was Mackenzie Schuler, technically. She's a walk-on and listed as a midfielder and is Illinois' third-choice goalkeeper because the top 2 goalkeepers have not yet passed the fitness requirements Janet Rayfield sets down to start. They do not get to start, but Julia Chili is in right away in goal. She will be the first choice for Coach Rayfield this year, a sophomore making her first collegiate appearance. Nobody has a single minute in goal in a regular season college game for Illinois coming into this year. Back for Blythe Beldner, who's been playing more back at her forward spot that she started her career in, but dropping back to play right back with Grace Pettit, not able to go at least starting the game. Coach Golan told us that might be a possibility, that Beldner would be dropping back to play at right back, Caroline Lyman over at left back, and Jaden Easley gets the start essentially in place of Pettit, and she's playing toward the front. What a nice step over by the left winger, and it's rolled in towards Silber, but stopped by Bella Alessio, who was Missouri's primary goalkeeper last year, but was part of a competition. Brian Blitz really favored that open competition week to week, and she had a couple of surprise non-starts, but did for the most part established a hold on the number 1 position with a dozen starts in Missouri's 14 games across the campaign. She comes all the way out to beat Pasquale and clear lines. Cisneros tried to keep it in, but at the last moment the assistant on the near side puts his flag up. Cisneros wanted a foul, she might have gotten it, but the assistant had a late reaction, and it did look from here the ball was probably out over the touchline. Shane Butler, referee today, gave the decision. And there's what would have been potentially the foul, though I'm not sure there was a lot in that either. Early impressions, Matt, from the first 2.5 minutes or so?
You know, Illinois is pressuring pretty quickly up top. Looks like Mizzou is being really structured. Coach Golan's mentality was start the back and transition from there. So we'll see what they can do there.
That was nearly a perfect ball for the freshman Jenna McCormick. A couple of freshmen starting at the central midfield spots for Missouri ahead of the experienced number 6, Cassidy Nurnberger. Jenna McCormick along with the German Milena Fischer, a pair of true freshmen getting starts for Missouri straight away. Back for Aaliyah Treiderer. She exchanges with Kennedy Burchell. And it goes back for Chile. It's one of the things that Janet Rayfield praised Chile for, is her ability to play with her feet. That Illinois wants to transition away from the style under Sammy Sample, a taller goalkeeper who had different strengths. She played every minute for the Illini last year in goal. And Chile doesn't quite have the same size, but plays well with her feet and comes off her line well. There's a good ball for Silber. She couldn't quite bring it down under pressure from the freshman center back Mills. But it does feel like Missouri's spending a lot of time in their own half early on.
Yeah, both teams are really getting sorted here, trying to just get a feel for where they're at, where each other's at, where the ball's at in a lot of ways.
Arnberger tries to chip it towards Cisneros, but out for a throw. It'll be taken by Summer Garrison, junior from Pasadena, California, moving back to play at right back for Illinois this year. But those two center backs are going to anchor the back line. Trider, the junior, and the sophomore Versosa Dolezal, who both played a ton last year for the Illini, and they were excellent. An Illinois team, of course, that has played or is going to play a lot of soccer in the year 2021 because the Big Ten didn't play any games in the fall of 2020. The SEC played its conference schedule and then essentially played things in reverse, playing the non-conference in the spring. So Missouri only played a half dozen games after the winter break. Illinois played its entire slate of a dozen games this spring and now back for game 13 of the year, but the first of the new campaign. Here's Jenna Bartles. She has Cisneros ahead on her left. Slips it through to Cisneros. Stephanie Golan wants her to face up at goal. She's so dangerous in that way, and out of not very much, Missouri has maybe the game's first chance with a corner.
That's one way you can try and change the momentum a little bit to start, get a free kick, get something from the corner, and try and get something in.
See the goals by season for Cisneros, who comes in now with 20 in her career, 10th on Missouri's all-time list. Bit of a down season for her in goal scoring wise as a junior, but she was rewarded with her first All-SEC selection to the second team. So clearly the coaches around the league saw the other things she was able to do, and Coach Golan feels similarly, dropping her into a slightly deeper midfield role. Good header clear, and Illinois can bang it out past midfield. Adesanya has her pass momentarily intercepted by the redshirt senior Hope Breslin, but it's only out of play for a Missouri throw. Breslin tracks back on Cisneros. Arnberger there to claim it. And Caroline Lyman. Sort of a ragged start for both teams. Another giveaway, and Fisher charges ahead. Arnberger all the way out wide on the left. You don't see her that close to the sideline all that often, but she loses out, and Burchell can turn the other way. A chance for Illinois to have a little possession. Murphy pings one out for Silber. She's on the run against Beldner. Has Pasquale through the middle. The front three forward for Illinois. Silber feints and brings it back to her right, but it's blocked by Beldner. Good one-on-one defending there by Beldner. She was kind of on an island.
Yeah, that was a great ball in, and really wish the attacker would have been in a position to do a little bit more there, but defender held up strong.
Silber on that left wing, senior from Crystal Lake, Illinois, had 3 goals in Illinois' 12 games this spring. All were game winners, so she could pick her spots. Those 27 shots led Illinois as well. And one of the Illini named the Big Ten preseason watch list. Missouri had 4 named to the SEC preseason watch list, and 2 of them are true freshmen, Fisher and Mills. Good sign for the first Coach Golan recruiting class.
Yeah, as a new coach, you love to see that. You love to see some potential, people you can mold right away and make an impact.
Of course, there's something unusual, though, about this coaching change in that the season didn't finish until the spring, and so Coach Golan didn't get in until almost the spring semester was over. Ordinarily, you'd see a coaching change of this caliber take place probably in December, if not in November after the end of the fall season. And so she didn't have quite as much time to prepare as she would otherwise.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a quick turnaround for Coach Golan, and she's really making an impact with the team. Team's been embracing the grind, and this is a big role in the game, the weekend, and the season to start.
Yeah, it's funny for Coach Golan coming from Minnesota. Obviously, she has a lot of familiarity with Janet Rayfield on the Illinois side. In fact, Coach Rayfield said she thinks that she recruited Coach Golan at Arkansas all the way back in the 90s when Rayfield spent time there as an assistant and later as the head coach of the Razorbacks. But Stephanie Golan is going to start staring down the barrel of 2 different Big Ten opponents here in Columbia on opening weekend, Illinois and then Nebraska. That'll be coming up on Sunday afternoon, the SEC Network.
There's a ton of mutual respect between these 2 coaches. As females in the game, there's not many women coaches out there, and the relationship that they have, they're both supportive and competitive.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear them talk about each other, too, and how well they clearly knew each other from overlapping for about a decade in the Big Ten. That We asked them both to describe what they were expecting from the other person, and they both pretty much nailed it, because then we asked them to describe what they were expecting from themselves, and they pretty much had the same answers as you see their history against one another. Rayfield's Illini did get the best of the last couple of matchups outside of that drawback in March between Minnesota and Illinois. Mills bangs it out toward Fisher. Has good size there to go up for those long balls, playing more direct. And Julissa Cisneros has made her way back up to her more traditional number 9 role that we're used to seeing her in, but expecting to see her playing at least some more in the attacking midfield. Looked like Silver was offside, and the assistant agrees. The flag goes up. But you can see that she and Pasquale, but especially Silver out on that left wing, they are not afraid to play right on the hip of the last defender and take their chances.
They're not, and Missouri's playing a really high line right now, trying to pressure into the Illinois defense, win the ball there, and I'm sure they're trying to get in on that transition, and we'll see how many balls get behind them from that.
That was the freshman Ashlyn Mills playing that free kick out of Frisco, Texas, making her Missouri debut. Chose the Tigers over Pitt and a couple of in-state schools, Texas and Texas Tech. And she's given a major responsibility, starting at center half. In her very first match in college, Pasquale making the run. Lyman is with her and can only knock it out, but concede an Illinois corner. So the Illini are getting something out of these sort of searching balls that they're playing. Maybe not a high percentage play, but they're making some chaos in the Missouri back line right now.
Yeah, they're putting some pressure on this back line, getting some balls on behind, which is always hard to turn your hips and get behind, chase down a ball and a defender. So let's put some pressure on this back line. We'll see how well they can adapt.
Aaliyah Triderer, one of 2 outfield players for the Illini, along with Joanna Versosa Dolezal, the center back pairing, to play all 1,103 minutes in the spring across Illinois' 12 matches. Her corner is in. It's promising, but over Murphy. And a foul was called either way, most likely against Eileen Murphy, the junior from LaGrange Park, Illinois.
That's a great ball in here. No one on the end of it there for Illinois, but coming in strong, and that's where the foul is.
Again, though, you can see the big effort that the Illini are making going forward. Murphy went way up for that. In the end, Shane Butler said illegally so, going over Jenna McCormick. But nonetheless, the Illini have been able to create at least a couple of half chances. Pocket picked by Jaden Easley, but Triderer recovers nicely to knock it away from her, and Illinois can settle back in possession. Sort of a ragged first 12 minutes, but I suppose that's to be expected in not only a rivalry game, but more importantly, the first match of the season for both teams.
We knew both teams were going to be well organized. It's going to be competitive and some real tough challenges right here in the midfield.
Garrison with some room to roam on the right-hand side. Plays it through toward Pasquale. Again, though, Lyman is with her all the way, and this time in good enough position that she can make it a throw instead of a corner. Caroline Lyman, who Stephanie Golan called the best individual defender on the team when we talked to her this week. Not a lot of playing time for Lyman in recent years. Junior out of Clarendon Hills, Illinois. Only had 92 total minutes last year across 4 appearances off the bench, all of them in the spring. But Stephanie Golan giving her the start at left back to begin this evening's ball game, and sounds like she has a lot of confidence in Lyman going forward as well.
She's getting tested early, and yeah, working strong against some of these attacks.
Different looking Missouri back line. You would think that one of the motivations was that Coach Golan wanted to find a way to move Cassidy Nurnberger out of that center back role and back into her number 6 spot, which is where she's able to most effectively be the true engine room of this team. And a foul call against Missouri. So Stephanie Golan moved Moada Sanmi over to play center back. Graduate from Lagos, Nigeria, who only made 4 starts last year. She had been a regular starter for Missouri most of her career, but dealt with a knee issue, and then she had a red card as well as she was trying to come her way back from that. So that limited her minutes, and she got an automatic 1-game suspension for it. So she's back in a little bit better rhythm, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see her play substantially more than those 47 minutes a game this year. Cisneros flips it for Bartles, who gets her head to it, but nobody really forward for Missouri, and Plenty of time for Versosa Dolezal to swing it out, looking for Breslin. But Beldner is there. And that'll be tracked down simply by Ashley Cathro, redshirt junior from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. One of a couple of Canadians on the back line for the Illini. And Missouri might have wanted handball on that, but evidently it was legal and knocked out of the path of Silber. She tries to slip it through for Pasquale. Well, Adesanya is over and concedes a throw for Illinois. Adesanya thought it went off of Silber, and Shane Butler has changed his mind, presumably on the advice of his assistant on the far side who put up the flag the other way. First 15 minutes for everybody. Nurnberger might have caught a piece of that, it sounded like, but it's cleared out by Murphy, playing in that deeper role as the number 6 for the Illini tonight. Haven't yet seen either keeper truly tested. Really, it's been both back lines, especially Missouri. Caroline Lyman stands out in this regard, playing well, turning and having to face their own goals and keeping their composure even in the first 15 minutes of the season, and able to deal with maybe not what you'd call chances, but things that easily could have become chances had they developed a bit further.
Yeah, these defenders really need to lock it down and keep it together.
Bartles is brought down, and a foul is given against Illinois. Versosa Dolezal picks it up. Versosa Dolezal brought to ground, and maybe more of a tangling than anything.
See if they can serve this ball in here behind. It's a good opportunity to step on.
In front, but claimed by Chile. You wonder about how set pieces can have an impact on a game like this too, especially with both teams, as we heard from the coaches all week. Their point of emphasis early in the season is organization defensively, being tough to break down. That feels like the kind of game that then's crying out for a set piece that can have a big impact.
When the teams are really evenly matched, sometimes it's just those little differences. Foul in a key spot can really change the way the game plays.
Good run by Breslin, and just a step offside. Pasquale on that left-hand side just slipped away a little bit too far, and a promising Illinois attack is flagged again. So here we go. The fall sports season is underway, and we'll have a soccer doubleheader for you Sunday afternoon. Number 18, Vanderbilt hosts Purdue at 2 Eastern, 1 Central. And then Missouri will welcome Nebraska into Columbia right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. One app, one tap. Those offside have been mounting for Illinois to this point. But you can see the creativity. You can see the will is there to push the ball forward. Physical challenge between Cathro and McCormick. That's a redshirt junior who was called the senior stateswoman of the back line by Janet Rayfield in Cathro, and there's a foul on Missouri, and a freshman in McCormick in her first collegiate half coming together. So McCormick getting a little feel for the physicality of the college game right away, but she held her own. Missouri, though, gives away the foul, and now as we were talking about it on the other end, Illinois has an opportunity to find that little bit of set-piece magic.
And this is a foul in a dangerous spot. There's a lot of different ways that Illinois can play this. Come around from the left, serve a ball in, just a PK spot. See what they've drawn up on the pitch.
Pasquale, instead it's Breslin, the third Illini who takes it. Murphy went up for it and got her head to it. Another physical challenge, this time an aerial duel between Murphy and Nurnberger. And the Missouri senior did just enough.
Yeah, that's a dangerous ball in. That's really where you want to play it. Here's another look. Comes to the back post. Big stretch from, and one more look. Really rising up there to try and get to it. Just can't get high enough.
Yeah, we saw Murphy go up on that corner when she was called for the foul, and I think she got even higher on this one, and you can see unless Missouri's going to get a lot of foul calls on her, it might be tough for anybody to rise quite as high as she does.
She's hungry for that ball, and let's see if she can get her head on the end of it.
Cisneros the flick toward Macy Trujillo, getting her first action of the young season. Out for Easley against Cathro. Trujillo, good combination for Missouri, maybe the best sequence of the game so far. And Verzosa Dolezal able to clear it off Trujillo and out for an Illinois throw. But it did sound in talking with Coach Golan that she expects that to be the sort of thing that's going to come a little bit later on as things move forward in the season. That her emphasis was on establishing that defensive shape first and foremost and being difficult to break down. But then beyond that, establishing the transition and keeping the ball on the ground and counterattacking and sort of working their way up to the more intricate offensive stuff.
Yeah, you've got to start with chemistry. You've got to start with connectivity. You've got to make sure the team's on the same page before you can really build from there.
Look at the hustle from Pasquale. She chased Mills into the back pass and then sprinted to Bella Alessio, who was composed with it. Did see Alessio have a couple of issues in those situations last year, although they were generally ironed out as the season went on. Here's Breslin. She's had a lot of space down that left-hand side. Good ball for Silber, but the shot is blocked by Lyman. Illinois thought they had it. Silber was there, and Lyman, maybe without knowing more than a thing or two about it, was able to get the block on one that certainly looked like it was goal-bound.
And Illinois is really threatening now. Really putting pressure on this back line, getting balls in.
McCormick against Murphy. Nurnberger sends it toward Trujillo, but it's out into the Missouri bench, and Illinois will have another throw. About 21 minutes now gone by. And Silber with the best chance of the game, but denied by Lyman, who has been the standout of the standout group so far, which has been that Missouri back line having to deal with challenges. It's interesting, too, though, with a back line that hasn't played a lot together and that's anchored by one freshman at center back, how high the Tigers are pushing this line, because they're being very aggressive with their defensive position, and it's really Mills, the freshman, who's leading that. It seems like every time like this, Illinois back passes, she is pushing them forward up toward midfield.
And Coach Golong said she was going to be a vocal leader in this back line and keep pushing them up. It's leaving some space for Illinois to play balls in behind.
Here's Silber on the run. Flag stays down. Pasquale tries to feint on Mills, gets one into the middle. Beldner with a half clearance. Pasquale can hit it, but it goes too high for Illinois' MVP from the spring of 2021. Leading goal scorer. That was a good opportunity. Just sailed on her a little bit.
Yeah, you see this ball doesn't get cleared out very well. Shot just comes up too high. And the second look here, just can't get over the ball, and I'd like to see her do a little better there.
So Alessio to send it out toward Murphy, who heads it down for Breslin. Out to Garrison. She's had some space on this right-hand side at times. Closed down well by Bartles. Silber flicks it through for the run of the new substitute Maggie Hillman. And the redshirt senior from Naperville has her cross blocked by Mills and out over the byline for another Illinois corner. It'll be the third of the night so far for the Illini.
We're seeing Mills everywhere right now, and that's just from a freshman, tremendous effort.
It doesn't seem like Missouri is shielding the freshman at all, playing one at center back and two as their pair in the central midfield ahead of Nurnberger. And they both had, or all three, had very big roles already tonight. Corner goes short for Pasquale. Cisneros with a foot in, challenged again, perhaps inside the area. McCormick tips it out for Triderer. Her cross floats, and Alessio aggressively comes out to claim it. Good goalkeeping by the junior in her second year in Columbia now.
Love to see good challenge there. Strong, aggressive goalkeeping there. And these goalkeepers, they're going to be in for a battle today.
And Cisneros brought down, a foul against Illinois. Haven't been a lot of whistles in the early going. But Missouri now with a chance to send something in. The Tigers often favored a direct approach from this sort of spot in last season. In fact, they scored an own goal against Florida, or Florida scored one for Missouri from a very similar spot on a direct ball played in. Mills floats this one to the penalty spot, flicked on by Trujillo, and it's just wide off the fingertips of Chile. Good response by the young Illinois goalkeeper in her first half of college soccer. Macy Trujillo nearly on the board.
This ball gets played in right at the penalty spot. Great spot where you can get a flick on, and tremendous save from the keeper.
We've talked about the physicality so far. How about that tangle between Trujillo and Garrison? They were jostling all the way with the ball coming in. These two teams are meeting for the first time since 2017 when Missouri won 3-1 in Champaign. Illinois scored the opening goal late in the first half, but Mizzou equalized on a 50th minute goal from then true freshman Macy Trujillo, the first of her career. Not a very good corner from Beldner in the end toward the near post. That one's knocked out by Erica McIntyre. What a capable option for Missouri to have off the bench. She comes in for McCormick. Played a lot of minutes for Mizzou last season and sort of took on that similar mentality to Cassidy Nurnberger in her hard work in the midfield. So we're going to head into a hydration break with temperatures up in the high 80s in Columbia today. Take a little break. 25 minutes in, no score in the opener in 2021. We're looking ahead to the new era of Missouri soccer, but also worth looking back to the final game of the spring and the final year of Brian Blitz's 25-year tenure as Missouri's first and only to that point head coach. A 1-0 win over Kansas to send him out on a Jayhawks second half own goal. Brian Blitz, what a career, more than 200 wins as Missouri's head coach. And Stephanie Golan now taking over, looking for her first at Mizzou. The Tigers finished the spring with a rivalry game, playing the border war with Kansas, and open it up with bragging rights on the opposite border against Illinois. Not too bad for the Tigers fans. Back to full capacity with free admission here in Columbia. Lyman got it back to Alessio. Not cleared all that far. Breslin can settle against Beldner, who does very well, and we'll see now if Missouri can counter. This is an area that's important to Stephanie Golan, and she wanted Julissa Cisneros in the midfield for exactly that reason. Bartles on the outside. Trujillo to her left-hand side. Trider is going to get there first for this one, and ushers it very nicely and technically out over the byline.
See some real signs of growth there from Missouri. That's the type of transition that Coach Golan's looking for. Really need to see them do a little bit more in the next time that comes up.
It was interesting, too, because she was talking mostly about defense and the shape and those sorts of things. And usually when you hear coaches emphasize defending and emphasize space and be tough to break down, those are usually the kind of teams that, whether they say it or not, we know tend to play direct. Maybe they play for a set piece here and there. They're going to take the sting out of the game when they can. Yet she was sort of saying the opposite thing, which was that she wanted them, when they play in transition, to keep the ball on the ground, which is generally from a team that's more inclined to really play and sort of keep it on the ground, even coming out, even if they're going to have that more defensive structure. And so that'll be interesting to see the balance between those two things early in the season.
Yeah, it really will. It's interesting to see them do that. And they've got a way, I think, of playing quickly and then getting the ball on their feet, taking it in space if they have it, making an impact quickly.
Schreider knocks it out for Missouri throw. She and Macy Trujillo having that competition up at the front. The throw goes toward Trujillo, who's made an immediate impact herself off the bench. Trying to make it 2-2 against Illinois in her career. Out for an Illinois throw, and Garrison will take it. Substitutions are coming thick and fast now for both teams. Cisneros went out. Joella on for Missouri, easily out. And Johnson on as well. Now Breslin will head to the bench for Illinois, and she's replaced by the freshman Maeve Jones from Frisco, making her Illinois debut. But probably had a little Illini in her from birth. Her mom, Melissa, also attended the university. Good ball for Jones. How about her first couple touches of your collegiate career? She tried to leave it instead for Sydney Stevens. Here's Murphy. She might have a hit. Alessio is there and gets a strong right hand to knock it out for an Illinois corner.
Watch this great save here. Ball comes in, headed for the left corner. Goalie stretches real far. Able to get her hand on and just push it across the side.
We talked about Pasquale not getting over one earlier. What a job by Murphy running onto that and sort of swinging open her hips and pulling the shot, keeping it low all the way back with power to the corner where she was coming from.
She knew she was going to shoot the whole way.
Try to her the corner. Illinois has been close. That one not in the area of Murphy, though, and so nobody was there to go up for it. That's been her job and hers alone so far. Beldner can send it ahead for Bartles. Only Trujillo up with her. And she is harassed into knocking the ball out over the touchline by Stevens. Still considered and listed a freshman on Illinois' roster, Sydney Stevens. And I suppose she technically is in terms of eligibility remaining because of the COVID year, but she spent last season at Georgia before transferring to Champaign, a Waterloo, Illinois native, getting her first action in the orange and blue.
Again, Missouri playing really high right here with their defense, inviting some plays behind.
Pasquale wants to take advantage of exactly that. Down the left-hand side. Good cross, but it's too high for the unrushing attacker and claimed instead by Alessio over Lynch, who was having a run at it.
Really seeing this game open up now after this water break.
Yeah, the subs are in and they've been raring to go. They had to watch the first 20 or 30 minutes from the bench, and now here comes Lynch again. Lynch all on her own, able to cut inside a Lyman, and Lynch has scored. A half hour in, Illinois breaks the deadlock. 1-0 to the Fighting Illini.
And this ball just gets slotted in behind. Really have a hard time catching back up. And she's just calm, cool, composed, slots it into the right corner.
Abby Lynch, the freshman from Brownsburg, on the field for only 5 minutes as a college player, and she's on the score sheet.
And walks the ball in.
Just that extra burst of pace and a really good ball, and was able to just sort of ghost on in along that right-hand side. There was nobody really there for Missouri to do much about it.
Well, this Missouri back line has been strong. We'll see if they can keep it up.
Nurnberger lunges to get a piece of that, but Beldner couldn't keep it and find a white shirt. Murphy taps it out for Pasquale. She has a runner ahead of her and gets it to Stevens. In for Jones. Already had one freshman goal for the Illini. Jones wants to make it two, but just let it drift on her high and away. That was always rising. But Illinois has looked certainly the more dangerous side the last 5 or 10 minutes, maybe all night so far.
Yeah, they're putting a lot of pressure on this Missouri defense right now. That one could easily been a shot on goal. Gonna need to see a little bit more tenacity from this Missouri team.
'18-year-old Abby Lynch in her first 5 minutes as a college player on the field has made it 1-0 to Illinois in the bragging rights opener of 2021. What a whirlwind start. Jones flicks it on. Lyman is there this time to stop it from reaching the aforementioned Lynch. And it's out for a Mizzou throw. So now you wonder about the response. This was something that Coach Golan talked to us about, that it's not so much about whatever event takes place, that she and the coaching staff are watching for the response. Nurnberger tangles with Stevens and gets it out for Joella, who plays it long, but nobody really there. Trujillo can press her, try to her, and might have won a corner. She did. What great effort from the fifth-year senior Macy Trujillo.
That's the type of effort you need to see to get your team back into it. Response after getting scored on. Really need to have that type of effort. Pick your team's head back up and say, hey, we can put one in here. There's a chance.
And Stephanie Golan talked about the leadership from this upperclassmen group, that if they don't buy in, that none of the younger players will, or at least it becomes much harder. And they've demonstrated the buy-in, and Macy Trujillo showing it there with her response and that work rate after Missouri conceded. Tigers will try to find a way to equalize in the final 12 minutes and change. Beldner sends one in high. Chile didn't come for it, but Illinois defends it well, and Pasquale can turn it to her own corner. Able to keep it in on the clearance. Sort of a miscommunication between Lyman and Beldner. Look at the pace of Lynch again. And had that first touch been softer, Lynch might have been in on goal the second time. This pace from the freshman Abby Lynch is just giving Caroline Lyman and the Missouri backline nightmares along this right-hand side. Lyman has corralled her pretty well in those sorts of situations, but when Lynch is able to get ahead of steam facing goal, she is having a massive impact on this game in only a few short minutes on the pitch. Jones off of Adesanmi. It's a throw in for Illinois deep in the corner. And looks like an Illini substitution upcoming. Hillman will check out. She makes way for the freshman Maddie Mariani from Wheaton, Illinois, making her Illini debut. By the way this is going, she's going to have a big impact. Every freshman, it feels like, who's coming on going forward for Illinois is getting touches on the ball and leaving an imprint on the ball game. 1-0 to the Illini on the 31st minute goal from Abby Lynch.
Yeah, a game like this, when you see freshmen come in, you know, they don't know that what a bragging rights game is quite yet, but they know that they got to put in a lot of effort. It means a lot to these upperclassmen, and they're just happy to put their head down and run hard.
Murphy hit that pass well. It goes off Lyman awkwardly. Lynch is on the run again. Adesanmi there this time, and she got the ball first before clattering into Lynch. But what a ball of energy Abby Lynch is on this right wing. Oof.
That's one way to assert yourself in the back line there.
Yeah, Abby Lynch might have the pace, but Mo Adesanmi has a little bit of strength on the young freshman. Here's Nurnberger. Trujillo makes the run ahead of her. She has been all work rate since coming on. Flag stays down. She gets a cross in, but really only one white shirt in the area, Joella, and even then, not a very threatening run. And it's out for an Illinois throw. Seems like that's the main issue for Missouri, even when there have been some good moments going forward and they've been able to play some kind of ball for a runner getting past or alongside the back line, especially along the wings. There just aren't many options to aim for.
That's part of it, and they're also just not having sustained possession. Illinois is really keeping possession of this ball, and you know, Missouri knew they were going to be playing defense. I'm not sure they knew they were going to be playing it this much.
Joella tracking all the way, but what a great run by Lauren Stibich. The senior gets a ball in, and it's claimed by Alessio. She went by a couple of defenders, Joella and then Lyman. Even when she was closed off, it seemed completely to the touchline. Able to get it in, but only as far as Alessio.
You love to see the aggressiveness from Alessio there.
Lyman challenged by Stevens. And it's out for a Missouri throw, but you can see maybe already some of that SEC experience that Stevens brings to the table. She's listed as a freshman, but she has brought physicality and challenges so far, even against Cassidy Nurnberger. And there are plenty of players in the SEC who don't enjoy tangling too much with Nurnberger. Stevens, a former top 150 recruit in the country, starred for St. Louis Scott Gallagher in the United Women's Super League this summer. Transferred from Georgia, where she did play a big role, made 8 starts for the Bulldogs as a freshman. And Janet Rayfield said this is rare for them to dip into the transfer portal. That's normally not her game. Maeve Jones gets a ball in towards Stevens, but it's too high. It falls for Lynch, has another hit, and it's out for an Illinois corner.
And we see another ball coming in from the wings from Illinois. They're really putting a lot of pressure in the air, in the box on this Missouri defense.
Lynch will take up residence right in front of Bella Alessio in goal for Missouri. Aaliyah Triderer for another corner. The 4th of the night for the visitors. And it's Mills going up to get ahead to it, but it's out for another corner. Triderer can make the jog all the way across. But Janet Rayfield said unusual for them to dip into the transfer portal, that's not where she usually goes, but Stevens was an Illinois kid they recruited really hard out of high school. She's from Waterloo, and they were bummed to miss out on her. Really excited to add her competitiveness and high-level experience. You've seen that competitiveness already tonight. And said Stevens wants to coach. She has a, quote, insatiable desire to expand her knowledge of the game. Triderer sends it in toward Murphy. She's been the most dangerous in the air, but didn't get a lot on that one. Still, though, Illinois able to maintain possession. Lynch with the dummy toward Pasquale. Nearly came off for her. Jones corrals it. And there's a lot of space for Stibich to send another early cross in. Lyman stabs at it. And it's lobbed in toward goal, but up and over by Versosa Dolezal. And a much-needed breather now for Missouri. But like you said, the Tigers have hardly had a sustained 3 or 4 touches in a row connecting any passes. Meanwhile, Illinois is in acres of space sometimes.
Missouri's on their heels right now and having a hard time trying to even clear the ball just to get it across the half and relieve a little bit of pressure off this back line. I'd like to see them move the ball up and see if we can change how this momentum looks.
So coming up at halftime, we're going to have some news for you about Missouri's new athletics director, Desiree Reeds-Francois. There's Sydney Stevens at another Illinois corner, 5th of the first half, as well as a look at the sparkling new home for the Illini, Demergent Park up there in Champaign, which will open up next week against North Carolina. The Illini first will be headed to Illinois State on Sunday for Game 2 on the road. Missouri, even with sort of a murderer's row of a non-conference schedule this year, is starting with 5 straight home games. So the Tigers will not play away from Columbia till 3 weeks from tonight against BYU in Provo. Murphy up for it again. You can hear the calls of away from Alessio, but they have been fruitless so far. Johnson goes to ground, and it's out for another corner. Triderer was tangling with her. And the Illini are just piling these up. They haven't had necessarily any fantastic chances off of corners yet, but you think if you give away enough, you're just playing a game of roulette at some point.
There's some great effort by the defender there to make sure that ball doesn't go in. It's pretty clear from these corners that they're going for Murphy.
There she is again, gets the header down. Mills gets ahead to it and takes a big whack from Lynch. Freshman on freshman crime. And our referee, Shane Butler, is going to stop the clock momentarily for Mills. We've talked about her, the early impressions of her importance. How about her toughness, taking that hit? And she climbs right back to her feet.
You really got to be able to sacrifice your body as a defenseman, and seeing that right there from a freshman who putting it all in.
Missouri leads the all-time series in this matchup with 6 wins and 3 losses. There have been a couple of draws between the two teams as well, but the Tigers have won more than half of the all-time meetings. Illinois, though, has dominated the first 41 minutes so far tonight. And you'd think maybe the Illini will be taking a little pleasure in that, with Missouri having won the last 2 meetings, although there are very few players on either roster who were around for that last matchup 2017 in Champaign. They last played in Columbia the year before in 2016. Mizzou won that game in extra time on a golden goal penalty from Melanie Donaldson. Here's Hannah Joella. She's going to try from distance, but that's simple for Chile to claim, although it was curling all the way back toward the goal. Maybe it would have been in the neighborhood of that far post had Chile not been out for it.
We've got 3 minutes left in this first half. That's a bit of a shot of desperation. Happy to get the ball up into the second half, and really would like to see her do a little bit more, hold on to that ball, build some possession, something you can carry off into the second half.
Leah Selm, by the way, is in there. She came on for Jenna Bartles, number 12 in white for Missouri, making her Mizzou debut. Freshman out of Parkway West High School in the St. Louis area. 2-time state cup winner with Lou Fuse Soccer Club. Another heavily recruited player, chose Missouri over Alabama and Purdue along with St. Louis. Nurnberger goes to ground and is a little bit slow to get up. Illinois can come the other way. There's a lot of space down the right-hand side again for Lynch. Sprayed out for her. The freshman against Caroline Lyman. On her left foot, pings it across for Jones, and that might have had Alessio beaten had it been inside the post. These Illinois freshmen, what an impression they're making.
Well, the strong ball played in. Not sure if our goalie would here have a chance at it.
Might have been more shin than it was foot from Jones, but she was able to direct it well enough toward goal. She didn't have much time at all to react to that.
When the ball comes in that fast, you just try and get your foot, any body part on it.
Nurnberger sends one over top. And it goes all the way through to Chile with 90 seconds or so to go in Columbia. Chile is going to wait for Trujillo to get all the way up to her before picking it up. But a calm first half as well for the sophomore taking over in goal for Illinois. The Illini haven't even often been pushed this deep. They've often been able to play with comfortable possession in the middle third of the field, if not holding the ball consistently on Missouri's half of the field. There's Jones stepping in to intercept the Beldner pass, bound for Johnson. And Johnson does get back to take it out of play on the far sideline. Final minute, and now Illinois might want to pick up the pace a little bit with the ball down at the Missouri end and see if they can't manufacture something here before the end of the opening 45. Pasquale, I think, has been out there all the way. She left it back, ball in, went past Mills and then Lyman. Luckily for them, Lynch couldn't corral it, and Joella comes away. Missouri has 35 seconds left with which to work, but a long ball for nobody. Seen that frequently from Missouri in this first half, and to your point, maybe a sign more than anything of how tired the Tiger legs are just from the amount of defending they've had to do.
A lot of rosters have deep benches right now. We'll see how many changes they make at halftime. See if they can up the energy and still keep some consistency.
Final 10 seconds of the first half. It's going to be a 1-0 lead for Illinois going into the break, courtesy of the 31st minute goal from the freshman, Abby Lynch. Her first 5 minutes on a collegiate pitch in a regulation game. How about a goal? And it's 1-0 Illinois after 45. Abby Lynch is feeling good, and why wouldn't she be? The freshman with the first goal of her career 5 minutes into her Illini tenure. First half tally makes it Illinois 1 and a Missouri 0 as we get set to begin the second half. There's Sydney Stevens, who had the assist, and she'll get the start along with Maggie Hillman going forward for Illinois. A different look, 11 to begin the second half. But same story with Breslin after it right away, and her cross drifts out. But that was really the story of the first half in a nutshell. Just lots of room down the wings for Illinois, and one cross after another coming in.
And Illinois already putting pressure on Missouri, trying to pick up where they left off, making sure that they get crosses in. See if this young Missouri team together can make some mistakes.
Illinois outshot Missouri 9-3 in the first half. Had 7 corners against Mizzou's 3. Cisneros turns it back to Trujillo. She's getting the start to begin the second half. Fisher with a good ball out wide for Easley. Steps in on Cathro, an ambitious left foot effort by Easley. And again, not a lot of white shirts alongside. That's been a story for Missouri, but we've seen a couple of those really hopeful efforts from 25-plus yards, and probably not many going to beat even a young goalkeeper from that range.
No, I think once they get into the final third a little bit more, you're going to find them a little bit more comfortable, this Missouri team. But, gosh, you want to see them do a little bit more when they get the ball there to develop that comfort level.
What a challenge by Mills on Stevens. Right on the edge of the area, a little bit of risk taken by the freshman, and she clattered in to Sydney Stevens, and in the end not only won the ball, but won a goal kick.
What a tackle here. Just cleans right through, knocks the ball off for a goal kick. Playing like a veteran right now.
I would say if there are bright spots for Missouri, it's probably Mills would be right atop the list right now.
And she's holding this defense together, taking a lot of leadership as a freshman right now.
Of course, Illinois knows all about that with the duo of Verzosa, Dolezal, and Triderer playing every minute. In last spring's campaign, freshman season for Verzosa, Dolezal, sophomore for Triderer. Easley pops one up toward McCormick. Here's Grace Pettit in to start the second half. She was not chosen to start. Stephanie Golan told us this week that she wasn't sure if Pettit would be able to start. And Beldner was in instead, but Beldner rests to begin the second half. And here is Pettit trying to combine with Cisneros. Good recovery by Garrison working back, and she is fouled by Pettit. Garrison took a spill on the far sideline to turn the ball over in the first place, right in front of the Illinois bench, but she recovered beautifully, working all the way back to win the foul.
Seen a lot more pressure out of Missouri in this second half to start. Trying to meet Illinois in their own third. See how that affects them.
Illinois was able to possess the ball in a relatively relaxed manner in the first half. Silber sent one in early toward Pasquale, but that was well out in front of her and covered up regardless by Adesanmi. Bella Alessio had a good first half, to be fair. Really not much she could have done about the Illinois goal, but she made some good claims on crosses into the middle, defended those corners pretty well, and had the one fantastic save on Murphy's long-range effort going down to her right-hand side.
She's really controlling her box, being vocal out there and stepping up.
And she comes out to get that one as well. Silver played it in toward Breslin, although she was covered up rather well either way by Lyman. But right now, I'm not sure. That's not to say that they can't find one out of something, but I'm not sure it's obvious where the Missouri goal would come from if they were to find an equalizer. It's not like you say, oh, they've been exploiting something down the right-hand side and they can try to turn that into a goal. Maybe it's a little bit of press, something like that, trying to force a turnover and get on Illinois in transition.
Yeah, I'm sure at halftime, Coach Golan was talking about how to change up this game.
Flag stays down against Silber. Pettit recovers well. Fisher tangles with Breslin. Turns back beautifully. The German freshman, very technically proficient, according to Coach Golan. Still adjusting partially to the pace of play and also to the heat and humidity, so probably happy to hear about hydration breaks on games at this temperature. McCormick gets stuck in, but a foul called going back to Trujillo's tangle earlier. Good refereeing by Shane Butler to let that run and then call it back for the foul on Trujillo, who had a really energetic first half off the bench.
Going to need to see that energy translate into something a little bit more for this Missouri team.
Breslin floats it in. Alessio let it bounce once. Silver was in the area. Pasquale was closing. Maybe the first time all night that Alessio has looked less than completely secure on a ball floating in toward her in the air. But able to get it nonetheless. Second-year Tiger transferred in from South Dakota. But her freshman year as a Coyote. Made 12 starts last year. Goal and a half per game against her on average. Saved better than 71%. Kept a couple of clean sheets. And a good first half. Only goal past her was when Abby Lynch got all the way through. Here's McCormick, another long-range effort from Missouri. And if there's a positive, at least two, maybe all three have been on goal, but none of them have really troubled Chile all that much.
And that's more shots on goal in the first 5-7 minutes than this Mizzou Tiger team had in the whole first half.
Yeah, they really only had the one good chance in the first half. It was Macy Trujillo flicking that header on from the set piece out near midfield. Breslin dances right past Caroline Lyman, now playing on the right-hand side with Pettit back on to start the second half. Adesanya gets stuck in against Breslin.
Great stand up there.
Didn't pick the right pass in the end. She had her arms out after that pass like she was expecting something different to happen. Maybe didn't get the run she thought was coming.
Those are the changes that Coach Golong is looking for. Creating opportunities out of defending, finding a way to turn that into a transition and lead the attack out of the back.
So here's Pasquale. Long ball for Breslin. Gorgeously swung right into the path of the redshirt senior. She swings it in towards Silber. Nearly beautiful combination. Stevens at the back end, but sends it out. What a great first ball by Pasquale, and Breslin almost put one of her own right on the foot of Silber. Didn't miss by much.
A lot of space here for the Illini to ping it around. Watch this pass here. A lot of space out here from the wing. Serving a good ball in. Just can't get on the end of it.
Breslin had kind of a quiet spring by her standards. Did not score in her 11 starts. Had one assist. Richard Senior from Massapequa, New York. That's coming off a career high 6 goals and 5 assists in 2019. But certainly somebody who plays a major role for the Illini. That entire attacking trio named preseason All Big Ten watch list. And here is Pasquale, and she's made it 2-0. You can see why she's on the watch list. Pasquale was the Illinois MVP in the spring, had a team best 5 goals, and she opens her account in the 2021 fall to make it Illinois 2 and Missouri 0.
Goal scorer for Illinois, unassisted, number 12, Peter Pasquale.
And not the place you want to lose the ball here. Mills has been having a great game. Just gives it away, and nothing you can do about that when your attacker can put a shot in right at the 6-yard box and makes no mistake about it. Puts it in the basket.
Pasquale right back on the score sheet, picking up where she left off. 5 goals in 12 in the spring, 3rd team All Big Ten. And she has her first in the 54th minute tonight. Might be more for Illinois. Here's Breslin. She cuts back, and Breslin has made it 3. Breslin, barely 30 seconds later, has made it 3-0 to Illinois. She was kept off the score sheet all spring, but in the opener in the fall, she has her first of 2021.
Illinois is finding a lot of long balls here, threads one through, gosh, and has all day to set it up, tees it on her foot, slots it right past the keeper.
22 seconds. Pasquale and Breslin.
And we see the Missouri team here huddle up together for a little bit, try and collect themselves, figure out how we can stop the bleeding a little bit.
Grace Pettit. Illinois thought it was out right in front of the Illini bench. Didn't get the decision. McCormick and Fisher combined. Nurnberger has a little bit of space, but it's been closed quickly tonight by Illinois. Feels like the Illini have had 3, 4, 5 times the amount of time on the ball that Missouri has tonight. Long ball toward Fisher, but she's flagged offside, even with Chile, who Janet Rayfield said is good coming off her line. Out to claim it for Illinois. Missouri did show a little bit of life there in the early stages of the second half. You wondered if that might be the effect of Stephanie Golan's team talk at the break. but that has to take a lot of wind out of their sails just to give up the second, and maybe you could see the impact of it. We talked about Missouri's relatively good response to conceding the first goal back in the first half, but not the response that Stephanie Golan and her staff would want to see to conceding the second.
I think the rest of the game here is about management. It's about seeing what are your takeaways going to be. What does your team look like? And resilience, how much do they bounce back? What's their attitude towards adversity here? And it's still early. A lot of time left.
This is a Missouri team, of course, that dominated at home last season. Tigers last fall in the SEC schedule only were unbeaten at Walton Stadium. 4-0-1, their first unbeaten home slate since 2009 when they won all 5 of their conference games, at that time the Big 12 at home. They did lose 1 game during the spring to then number 14 BYU 3-0, and it looks like they might be on the wrong end of a thrashing again tonight. Silber comes onto it. Looked like for a moment she was thinking about sizing up an audacious volley. I think that's Sydney Stevens, the transfer in her Illinois debut.
This Illini team just relentless right now. Smells a little blood in the water and says, let's keep this pressure on and see if we can keep this up.
And Janet Rayfield has to like that, the killer instinct on this team. They're not sitting back and enjoying certainly a 2-0 lead. They only had that for 22 seconds. They didn't seem to like it very much. They wanted the 3-0 lead, and they're not enjoying that one a whole lot either. Illinois then will play on the road against Illinois State on Sunday. And then, as we mentioned at the half, number 3 North Carolina coming up to open Demersion Park, the full facility, next Thursday night in Champaign. Header away by Triderer. Cisneros is after it for Missouri. McCormick, the space is closing. She pulls it away, and Mizzou can have a momentary reprieve from the pressure. Nurnberger can't hit him from outside, but is blocked by Murphy. And Breslin corrals for Illinois. Tried to step away from Easley and spins Nurnberger to the ground. I would think there's a chance that this is going to end with Breslin in the book. Maybe not, because it was just a bit of a tangle, but that was a violent takedown at the end of Cassidy Nurnberger. Looks like Shane Butler is happy just to have called the foul, though.
A little bit of coming together with the legs, and yeah, that's a different type of tackle there.
A couple of experienced players, not afraid to get after it. Cisneros sends a good ball in. Trujillo was there, a brave punch by Chile. That was a really good-looking ball by Cisneros, and you can see what Janet Rayfield talked about, how comfortable Chile is coming off her line, because she came a long way to get to that. Had she not gotten it, she would have been leaving a wide-open goal.
That's what you love to see as a defender. Your goalie in the back, behind you, strong, coming out hard, clearing balls, making it easy on your defense. It's what making this Illinois team really strong right now.
Beldner in for Easley, so Blythe Beldner, after she started the game at right back, gets her chance to play at right wing in a tangle right away with Cathro, who watches it go out, and there was a kick into the back of her leg from Beldner, who was frustrated perhaps that ball was going to leak out of play, and a foul called against Beldner, although I suppose it's not a whole lot different than a goal kick. In fact, maybe even better for Missouri to put some pressure on, with Illinois having to play out of the corner.
We're seeing this Missouri team play really high right now, trying to press, trying to win a ball in a period where they can make an impact.
Lyman has it taken off of her bypass. Squally already on the score sheet tonight. She turns back toward Hillman against Adesanmi. Hillman knocked off the ball, and it's cleared away by Mills.
You've got a little bit of a risk reward when you do that if you're Missouri. Playing high, trying to win the ball, possibility you could get countered on, and that's what we saw right there.
It's interesting because of the stylistic matchup between these two teams that both of them, we haven't seen it so much from Illinois tonight, but both of them would probably fancy themselves counterattacking sides at the moment. Certainly Missouri does. And Janet Rayfield talked very similarly about wanting to be difficult to break down. We haven't seen a lot of it tonight just because the Illini have been in possession so much. They haven't had to do a lot of defending. And another long-range Missouri effort, and that's from 30-plus yards. They haven't looked close to challenging Chile yet. I can understand that they haven't really broken down the back line either, but at some point you'd probably like to see Missouri try something a little bit different, keep the ball on the ground a bit.
They're getting into the final third here, and I think they're a bit in foreign territory and don't really know what to do. They're finding yourself all alone, and you either turn and face and keep possession, or you try and launch a shot, and I think they're just trying to build something.
Abby Lynch, the first goal scorer of the evening, back on for Illinois. She has the game winner as it stands. Mass substitutions for the Illini. Pasquale and Breslin both went out. Maeve Jones back on as well, another one of the youngsters up front for the Illini. Feldner swings in a promising ball towards Cisneros. Chile didn't come for that initially, and Murphy has to clear it. Silber there. Pettit presses all the way up on her back, and Garrison sends it long for the aerial duel between Jones and Mills that the Missouri freshman wins, but only out of play for an Illinois throw. And this is a Missouri team, of course, that's, if there's no magical comeback in these final 29 minutes, going to have to physically and emotionally recover quickly, because it is a gauntlet in the early season for Mizzou. SEC is tough enough, but the non-conference this year going to bring just the same kind of heat. 4 of the 7 are against Power 5 opponents, which doesn't even account for BYU. Nebraska to follow this game, then Indiana State, Miami, and Notre Dame all at home before the Tigers hit the road for the first time to take on Northern Colorado and BYU 3 weeks from now.
Coach Golan inherited the schedule a little bit when she arrived, and she's taking the right approach that, look, the hand that is dealt is the one that she wants. And she would like to have maybe a home exhibition, get a little bit more comfortable here for a home game. But challenge is good. You want to set up the teams that want to be here. You want to be able to see what you're made of. And we're seeing that right now with this matchup in Bragging Rights game.
So an Illinois corner to come. Triderer again. The Illini have had a lot of chances at these, but nothing so far that they've even turned on goal. They have, though, been able to maintain possession out of them a lot. So good control by Silber. She whips one right in for Stevens. Alessio got there first, but she's still down. Lynch will have a hit, nearly deflected in front of goal by Stevens. It's still loose and finally cleared away, but the flag has gone up either way. Illinois was almost setting up for some kind of hockey goal with Stevens just stabbing out with her right foot at that hit from Lynch, trying to redirect it in front of Alessio, who did really well to stand her ground here.
And Missouri just can't clean up the garbage. You really want to see a clearance there. Illinois keeps it in. Ball scrambling in there, digging it out, trying to get it out there. Finally does. Gets a little bit bailed out with a foul call or offsides. And pressure still on with this Illinois team.
Nurnberger and Stevens in another tangle. After that one, Mills clatters into Hillman, who's able to recover and swing it out to Silber. Hillman toward Garrison, intercepted, and Nurnberger bangs into Hillman. Shane Butler satisfied that that's all within the laws, and Pettit can settle down for Missouri.
Great turn there.
Bartles gets loose past Garrison, who has to track back. Really good ball toward Trujillo, but it was just a little too far out in front of her. That's more the creativity that Missouri's looking for in the final third. That wasn't an orthodox angle to play that pass, but it was just snuck through by Fisher.
Seeing some glimpses here from this Missouri team, ways that they probably want to play. Just need to see a little bit more from them, a little bit more comfort on the ball.
Fisher thinking Pettit. Just didn't get that ball right. Grace Pettit was on the move, but the young German just let that drift much too far toward Chile.
I think she'll want that one back if you asked her right now.
Because you're right on that one there, you could see They got forward towards Cisneros. She was able to swing it back, and the switch of play was on there. Garrison was a little bit out of position. Had that been a perfect ball, Pettit would have had a chance at least to settle and knock something into the middle, maybe even to have a hit herself. So it's not all bad for Missouri in transition. A little good combination again. That's a big part of the reason that Stephanie Golan wants Julissa Cisneros back in more of a midfield role. Pettit goes to ground. And a foul is called against Illinois. Murphy couldn't believe it. The Illinois bench is not happy. Janet Rayfield there maybe having her say with Shane Butler. It's a 3-0 lead for the Illini. Now 65 minutes gone by. Cisneros, another good ball. Knocked down by McCormick. She has to keep it into the byline. Trider's after her and knocks it out to Garrison, who can clear her lines. Missouri's had one or two good set pieces, but in general, the Tigers haven't looked as dangerous as the Illini on set pieces either, which is not a good recipe for success considering how Illinois has also dominated open play.
Those set pieces can be an opportunity. Change what the dynamic looks like. And you really need to take advantage of them, though.
Stevens eventually able to win the throw. She was double teamed by Nurnberger and Peldner. Caroline Lyman is going to check out for Missouri.
Substitution for Illinois, 31, Mariani, and for number 3,
and make way for Megan Oduye.
27, Hillman, and 35, Stivic, and for 26, Garrison. Substituting for the Tigers,
Maddie Mariani in.
Megan Oduye, and for number 88, Caroline Lyman.
And Lauren Stibic on as well. Bartles the header toward Trujillo, but so many orange shirts surrounding any Missouri Tiger receiving a pass in the middle of the field, especially with a back to goal. They seem to do a great job of collapsing. I'm not sure more than one or two Tigers have been able to receive a pass and turn easily to face goal.
Yeah, that's the type of defending you want to see. Everyone getting to the ball fast, winning it in a good spot, and be able to make a transition.
Feldner knocks it back for Nurnberger, long toward Trujillo, but simple for Versosa Dolizal. And you can see the amount of space then that Stevens has. There's just not a lot left in the Missouri legs, it looks like. Maybe not a lot left in the hearts either, going 3-0 down the way that they did.
Yeah, those two back-to-back goals, that was a bit of a dagger.
22 seconds apart. It was the freshman Abby Lynch in the first half, but the usual suspects then in the second half. Illinois' leading scorer in the spring, Kendra Pasquale, and Hope Breslin then added her 12th career goal just 22 seconds later. And it's a 3-0 lead for the visitors from Champaign. Nurnberger to Cisneros, has a little bit of space in which to operate, but the first touch let her down, and Stivic able to knock it as far as Pettit. Cisneros trying to turn free. Good work to set up an angle for Pettit, but an excellent recovery by the speedy Maeve Jones. We've seen the speed of these young Illinois attackers play a big part in this game. Lynch was able to go in. Silber has the speed too. She's not one of the young ones. But in general, Missouri has struggled to deal with the Illini's pace. Silber from distance, and it's right at Alessio.
And that's a great example of Illinois in transition, winning the ball, getting those quick attackers the ball at their feet, moving forward, getting a shot on goal. Not a great shot, but indicative of how this Illinois team is really breaking down Missouri.
There's one for the chase from Burchell. Sophomore from Bensenville, Illinois, who hasn't played a big role tonight. She started in the midfield for Illinois. Scored her first collegiate goal in the final game of the spring against Iowa in Champaign. A 2-1 Illinois loss in the Big Ten regional semifinal. A disappointing one as well, you'd have to say, for the Illini, because they had a pretty good spring and had thrashed Iowa 3-0 earlier in the season, one of their early games in the spring. Another cross coming in from the Illini. It's been one after another all night. And they've consistently been able to recover and have another go at it. Burchell can circulate. Stevens, I think, was looking for Abby Lynch. And Beldner puts it out of play.
We're going to see some changes here for both teams. Trying to bring in some fresh legs, a little bit different look.
It'll be interesting to see how Missouri plays these final 20 minutes, though, because it might indicate how, at least emotionally, they're feeling, or how beaten or not they feel, because you'd like to see them push forward and try to get some kind of consolation prize, maybe put a goal on the board and start to feel a little better about themselves going into another challenging match against Nebraska over the weekend. But I would imagine if they are feeling beaten, there's a part of you that says, we just don't want to give up any more and let 3-0 turn into 4 or 5 or 6. And hopefully they're able to still try to push themselves to play these final 19 minutes and push it forward and give Stephanie Golan something to work with, because there's not going to be much reprieve coming up on that schedule for Mizzou.
Oh, that's a tough one moving forward. The only window right there might be an Indiana State team, but gosh, that's a tough one to keep moving forward with. Really want to see from the rest of this game here with Illinois how they can react, if they can find some silver linings here. Starts with a corner kick.
Beldner, Cisneros got something to it. It's knocked out, taking no chances by the experienced Ashley Cathro. Former Canadian Youth International, played all but 6 minutes last year, and has started now 32 of 33 Illinois matches in her career since she set foot on campus, not counting a redshirt year in 2019. Pops up and over Maeve Jones, who pursues it, but loses out. Stevens can pick her head up, but didn't get that one right. Was a good crowd here, free admission this season in Columbia. Unfortunately for Missouri, not the showing that the Tigers would have wanted to put forward. First match in front of a full capacity crowd back at Walton Stadium since the fall of 2019. Good ball down the sideline by Abby Lynch. Burchell can turn inside. Lynch on the overlap. Instead goes to the interior for Jones, who shielded off beautifully by Adesanya. That was a good little dip of the shoulder by Maeve Jones, but Adesanya was not fooled.
Cheeky move by the attacker. Gives a little bit of another look. Am I coming or am I going? But defender is able to walk it off, and heading into another water break here.
Illinois 3 and Missouri 0. 17:26 to go when we get back. Pair of goals in the second half for Illinois to make it a 3-0 lead. It was the freshman Lynch in the first half, but it's been the expected Illini goal scorers in the second. Pasquale, 5 goals this spring to lead Illinois. She has her first of the fall. And Hope Breslin, after a scoreless spring, opens her account in 2021.
And both these goals coming pretty much from the same spot, almost the same exact play, walking it right in, and makes no mistake about it, puts 2 more in for the second half.
Tell you what, a composed finish, though, by Breslin. That's a senior type of play. You can tell she had 11 career goals already under her belt. Those 2 goals just 22 seconds apart. In the 54th minute, Pasquale with her 6th of 2021, counting the 5 for the spring, and Breslin her 1st.
Missouri coming out hard right now.
Good ball into the middle, and it was just beyond the reach of Fisher. Maybe the best half chance Mizzou has had the entire game. Had Fisher been able to bring that in on her right foot with a good first touch, she could have put that straight on goal from a good angle and right in on Chile.
Well, and you see what Missouri can do out of some of these stoppages. After halftime, came out strong. After this water break, came out strong. It's whether they can keep that sustained pressure.
McIntyre, she does have a great shot from distance, Erica McIntyre. One of those that she loves to hit, just running onto it. Sort of backing out of the play, and she'll just pop up on a ball bouncing out of the area and put it on target, but couldn't keep that one on the frame. A couple of substitutions. Angie Gallo making her Illinois debut. Another freshman from Wheaton, along with Maddie Mariani. Joella went up for it, but lost out to Verzosa Dolezal. A lot of younger players getting a chance to play, but based on the spring, seems like Verzosa Dolezal is going to be on the field all the way. Lyman is back for this one and challenged all the way, but able to win the race only to concede an Illinois corner. Although Gallo did come in to replace Aaliyah Triderer, so these will be the first minutes Illinois has played in 2021 when Triderer is not on the field. She played all 1,103 in the spring, as did Verzosa Dolezal, the center back pairing. But Triderer gets her first break of the entire year.
Incredible couple of workhorses there.
Gallo into the middle. Jones goes up for it. It falls out, and Missouri can get a clearance away. All the way back for Chile, who's within the final 15 minutes now, putting up a clean sheet in her first ever collegiate appearance. Certainly would do a lot, you'd think, for her confidence, but she hasn't looked like she's lacking for it. She's been very aggressive coming off her line, especially for a goalkeeper who doesn't have tremendous size. Doesn't seem to be afraid at all to come out and punching a ball in the air and directing her defenders as well, even only in her collegiate debut. She's got 75 minutes under her belt now. That's enough.
Yeah, you see her being very vocal. It gives your back line a lot of confidence. Always appreciate it as a defender when your goalie is a bit of a general back there and keeping people in line, making sure that they're going to the right spot, tucking in, finding opportunities.
Good ball out wide. Illinois sustaining that attack. A lot of it has come down the flanks. Cross in is headed up in the air by McCormick and cleared out by McIntyre. Feels almost like a trope sometimes, especially at the professional level, that a goalkeeper will make a great save and immediately stand up yelling at the defenders. You know, I suppose that's maybe the one time as a defender you don't like it as much, when it's less about direction and more punitive.
You don't like it in the moment, but you like the energy, I think.
Fall sports season underway. We'll have a soccer doubleheader for you Sunday afternoon. Number 18 Vanderbilt hosts Purdue at 2 Eastern, 1 Central. And then Missouri back here in Columbia hosting Nebraska right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. One app, one tap. That will go out over the byline. A Missouri goal kick with 13 minutes to go. The Tigers will make another substitution. Jaden Easley is going to come back on. And Hannah Joella, or rather, it'll be Jenna McCormick making way.
In for number 5, Jenna McCormick.
Another good tangle. We've seen plenty, and Illinois wins another one. Julia Eichenbaum, sophomore from West Long Beach, New Jersey, made a few appearances off the bench in the spring. And now the throw from Caitlin Fisher, senior from Naperville. One of the fun things about these regional rivalries is just the number of kids from both states. Missouri has more of an Illinois presence on its roster than Illinois does the reverse, but a lot of kids who presumably spent some time playing together, especially on the club circuits. Probably a lot who were recruited by both schools and by other schools in common. That comes all the way through for Maeve Jones, and it's 4-0. Out of nothing, another freshman goal. Illinois has had two from upperclassmen Breslin and Pasquale. They've been bookended by the two freshmen, Abby Lynch and now Maeve Jones. It's 4-0 to the Illini.
And you see this ball just get in between to the defenders, between the center and left back. Have to do some coverage there. Can't quite get back there fast enough. Illinois makes no mistake and buries it from the penalty kick spot.
Breslin and Pasquale have a combined 20 career goals. Jones and Lynch now have a combined 2. A couple of debut goals for the Illini. Dream first night in the orange and blue for that pair. And you have to say the 4-0 lead for Illinois is deserved. And certainly for Jones and Lynch, both well-deserved goals because they have worked their tails off tonight.
Yeah, Illinois looked very strong tonight. Very composed, can ping the ball around, making no mistake about who's in control of this game.
11 minutes now to go. Maeve Jones on the score sheet, and it's a 4-0 lead for the visitors. Not the kind of thrashing that Missouri would have wanted to start the 2021 season, and put just a little bit of a damper on the celebration of the beginning of a new era. The Brian Blitz era came to a close, although we didn't know it at the time, with a 1-0 victory in an even bigger rivalry for Missouri over Kansas. But Stephanie Golan not going to be able to start her tenure with a similar result. Nonetheless, she said, of course, it's more about the process. It's more about improving every day. That's the primary goal, especially this season. They want to win a lot of games and more than they lose, but that's a byproduct of a lot of other things that they want to do well. Illinois is closing in on a first win in regulation over Missouri since 2004. That was Janet Rayfield's third season in charge. Illinois also won in 2008 in extra time here in Columbia. That was their last victory at Mizzou. And then they won again late on in the 2008 season in an NCAA tournament match. Same story in 2012. Both of those matches went to penalties, so they go in the books officially as draws. So, in fact, Missouri and Illinois have never had an actual draw in their 11-match, now 12-match series history, because the only two that did happen to be postseason matches, so they had to be decided on penalties. And they go in the books as draws, both 1-1, and both here in Columbia, but both shootouts won by the Illini as the visitors. This will snap a 2-match Missouri winning streak. First win for Illinois of any kind over Mizzou since 2012. And the first win in regulation going back to 2004, only the third in the 12 meetings between these two teams, and the second for Janet Rayfield in her Illini tenure. Another hotly contested match between, or in the hotly contested series, maybe not so much this match, between her and Stephanie Golan. And Illinois is going to take this one tonight, it would appear, to start 1-0 this season and head into Illinois State. And then the Illini will hope bring a 2-0 record into that big Thursday night meeting, opening up the sparkling new home in Champaign, the Merchant Park, against the number 3 North Carolina Tar Heels, one of the 5 ACC teams in the top 7 this year in the preseason poll. And, of course, a little extra juice to it as well as the alma mater of Janet Rayfield. She played there in the late 70s into the early 80s, scored 93 goals in her decorated career in the powder blue. Second only in UNC history to Mia Hamm on the all-time goal-scoring list. Foul on Feldner. That gives us a chance to tell you a little bit about Janet Rayfield, the player. As Stephanie Golan said, a legend. NCAA champion in 1982 and the Nike Player of the Year in 1981. And I think being second in something behind Mia Hamm is just as good or better than being first.
It's really incredible right there, and just really speaks to what she can do as a coach. Obviously drawing from that experience, bringing this Illinois team together, and over a very long sustained period too.
She's taken the Illini to 10 NCAA tournaments over her first 19 seasons, including the Sweet 16 in 2013, the Illini's fourth of all time. Had 6 NWSL draftees and an Olympian. Her tenure in Champaign, also spent time coaching at Arkansas and with the Region 2 U.S. national staff.
We asked Coach Rayfield this week what she'd like to see after her 2 exhibition games, and she said, look, we'd like to see a little bit more in the attack, some creativity, see the game well, maybe read each other more. And she said all of her attackers are good hunters, and they're in it together. So we've seen that today. They've really been hunters and finding the back of the net.
It's interesting, too, because she commented on with some of the younger players that they struggle to get back into their shape defensively in transition when they turn the ball over against Notre Dame, their second exhibition, which they lost 4-0. And they haven't seemed to struggle with that tonight. Now, of course, they played the younger players for more minutes maybe in that game than they did, at least while this match was more in the balance tonight. But that 4-0 result for Notre Dame, even an exhibition play, when compared to the 4-0 Illinois win tonight. Cisneros swings one in for Fisher, who didn't get that first touch right, and it goes out for a goal kick. That's rather foreboding for Missouri, welcoming Notre Dame in here in a couple of weeks. And so the Tigers will want to try to put forth a different performance as soon as Sunday against Nebraska, but certainly in that game, because Illinois went -4 to Notre Dame, I should say, and +4 now against Mizzou. So the Tigers certainly will have a little bit of work to do in that regard.
Well, and in conversely, talking with Coach Golong this week, her approach was, okay, what do you think would be a successful season? Her approach is, let's get better each time on the pitch, cover items that we want to win.
Moana Sanmi took a hard hit, contested header, and she went down very hard. In the end, Shane Butler called a foul. I think even if he hadn't, he probably would have stopped play for fear that she had been more badly shaken up here.
That's an aggressive challenge from both players. Big coming together. Both watching the ball. Didn't see each other there, and gosh, just in hard positions there to call much of a foul, but we see one there, and just going to take a little bit of a break to walk it off.
Adesami goes out. That was Zoe Koldoff called for the foul, the sophomore from St. Charles, Illinois, getting her appearance. And Cassidy Nurnberger will drop back the back line with Adesami going off. Cisneros brings it down nicely, flicks it out toward Beldner, who just waited on the ball, and her space closed down very quickly. And Illinois wins the throw. Just has not been any space to breathe for Missouri on the ball in this game. And it feels like, especially in the second half, it's crazy to say with Illinois having 4 goals and how easily they've gone forward, particularly in the second half, but it feels like it's been the defense for the Illini that's more the story. Missouri has hardly had a half chance, and it's felt like they've just been gradually suffocated in this game.
Yeah, they're trying to put a little bit together. Missouri is. Every single time they try and put 2, 3, 4 passes together, they don't make it past 2 or 3 before they get gobbled up by this Illini team.
Stevens tries to step past Fisher. McIntyre gets there, but it'll be simple for Chile, who spills it toward the byline, tries to dive to keep it from going out over the byline, and in the end could not keep it in play. So a good recovery by the sophomore, who has been virtually flawless tonight. But one of the simplest balls she's had to deal with of the evening just kind of got to her chest. It's not quite football season, but they talk about catching it with your hands. Don't let it get into the chest and have it bounce away. That had that feel to it. So a Missouri throw at this point all about Mizzou looking for a consolation goal. Down the line for Easley, maybe in a position to win a corner, but cross got all the way past Bisher. Calmly played back by Lynch. And a Missouri throw again. Illinois with a chance to break now. Some good numbers for Stevens. She slows it down a little bit. In the end, looks off a defender into space for Mariani. Floated over the top, but too far out in front of the on-rushing Koloff. And Bella Alessio, who has been sort of the unfortunate recipient of some of this punishment, because I'm not sure you could ask questions of her on really any of the goals.
Yeah, all close range shots. Didn't have much of a chance on any of them. Just have to take a guess and take a stab at it. Has been strong otherwise, though.
Mariani with some space to turn and charge. Lynch down the left-hand side. Back toward the middle. In the end, both Mariani and McIntyre kind of stepped away from it, and it allowed the ball to run across to Mariani's right foot, but her shot is well wide. Final minute 45 of what will be a disappointing opening night for Missouri, but an invigorating one for Illinois. Opportunity then after an in-state battle on Sunday against Illinois State to, they would hope, take an unblemished record into that North Carolina matchup on Thursday evening. And I would hope that Demerjen Park is going to be rocking for them on Thursday, because it looks like a beautiful new facility, as we showed you at halftime. A lot of credit to Illinois for putting that together, for not only the soccer team, but for the men's and women's track and field programs. And Janet Rayfield in the videos went into what I assume was her office, looking out at the field and said, not a bad view every day. And I would think that's certainly true after the heights that she's seen women's soccer climb to now, from starting out in the late 70s at North Carolina before it was even an official NCAA sport, and now opening up a multi-million-dollar facility in Champaign.
It's a lot easier to go into the office, into the training pitch, put those long hours in, grind through it when you have a nice new facility like that.
And hopefully they'll be awarded, or rewarded, I should say, with a great crowd on Thursday to come out and watch Illinois take on the most decorated women's soccer program in history. Final 20 seconds. Missouri will have one more free kick. The Tigers, to their credit, are hustling to take it. Just playing for pride at this point. Mills had a promising one in the first half, and this will likely be the final action of the game. She swings one in. Cisneros is there for it, but it's cleared away. And the last kick, fittingly, is by the young Illini freshman, Abby Lynch, who had the first goal of the night, the first of her career, and what will go in the books as a game winner. 1-0 at the time. Illinois added 3 in the second half, and a 4-0 thrashing for the Illini on opening night for their first regulation win over Mizzou since